Howdy ho, and welcome to Mrs. K's Way of Intro to Probability. Today we're going to be talking about three different parts about probability. Remember, this is an intro, so it's a prequel. We aren't actually going to be finding any probability just yet, but we need to know these three terms: outcomes, sample space, and favorable events. So the first thing we're going to talk about is outcomes. These are all the possible results of an activity. Now, we sometimes also can call the activity an experiment, where we're going to be doing something multiple different times to try to find what the different outcomes or possible results are. So one example is flipping a coin. So when we flip a coin, there are happening to be only two different sides, so our two outcomes happen to be heads or tails. So the outcomes of flipping a coin are heads or tails. Now let's talk about sample space. The sample space is the collection of all possible outcomes of an activity. For flipping a coin, there were two different outcomes. The outcomes were heads or tails. Now if we look at a second example, rolling a number cube where one of the values appears on the top face. Now, of course, we call it a number cube, but we also know it's called a dice. And you know what this looks like, rolling a dice and having one variable be on top. The outcomes happen to be all of the different numbers that could be possible values. For a dice, that happens to be the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The sample space is how many different outcomes there are total. Well, since there's 6 different numbers, there are 6 equal possibilities of outcomes. You can equally have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, but that's 6 total outcomes. Now we want to talk about favorable events. This is the collection of specific outcomes from an activity that make the event happen. So that means we are going to be looking at an example, and sometimes we're going to have a favorable event, and sometimes we're just going to have total outcomes. So let's look at this. There are 7 cards face down on a table, each printed with a day of the week. You pick one card. So now we're going to look at 3 different favorable events that we can want to happen. We're going to let D be the event that you picked a weekend, right here, a weekday. E is going to be an event that you picked a weekend, and F is the event that you have picked a day that ended in D-A-Y. So we want to make sure that we know that these are used, favorable events are used using capital letters, and we also use brackets. So we have D, E, and F to be those different days of the week, or those different events that are favorable. So let's talk about our first favorable event, D. If we think about the weeks, we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So the weekdays would be our possible favorable events for D. So we have the capital letter D, equal, and we use brackets, and we have all of our favorable outcomes inside. So a weekday is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and or Friday. For E, we're going to be talking about weekend. There happen to be only 2, so we would write that as our capital letter E, and then in brackets, Saturday and Sunday would be our 2 favorable events. Last, we could just talk about days that end in D-A-Y, and for event F, that's all of them. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 favorable outcomes, and that happens to be all of the different days of the week. Let's wrap it up with one last example. If we look at this example, X is the event of choosing a word with exactly 2 E's in it from the following word list. So actually, event X, this is only right here, the exact 2 E's, that's only the favorable event. So that's only the favorable event. But we also want to talk about the sample space and the outcomes of the whole event. So the sample space is the total amount of outcomes. So let's count those out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we have a sample space of 11 total outcomes. We want to know what each of those outcomes are, and those happen to be each of those different words. So all 11 words are outcomes: mathematics, employee, theme, here, Erie, there, share, maritime, employer, those, and these. So all of these different words are possible outcomes. But when we look at event X, we only want to look at the different words that have exactly 2 E's in it from the following word list. So if we look through the whole entire word list, we can see that mathematics doesn't have it. We have theme. Erie has 3, so that doesn't work. And if we go through all of them, there only happen to be 5 favorable events, and that happens to be employer, here, theme, there, and these all have exactly 2 E's, where all the other ones might have had only 1 E, or they might have had 3. So remember, it's important to be able to distinguish the difference between the sample space being the total outcomes. Outcomes are the exact actual outcomes of the sample space, and then events are favorable outcomes from each of the sample space and out of all the outcomes. So make sure that you're recognizing that 3 of these are different, but they all happen to be connected with each other. I just wanted to show you a fun picture that happened over the past month. Callie went to my puppy Callie, went to a reunion, and she got to meet her brother Sam that she hasn't seen since she was born, and they remembered each other and they played all day long. So hopefully that puts a little smile on your face. If it doesn't, I'm sorry. Maybe there'll be another funny Callie video later on this week. Thanks so much, guys. Bye.